Welcome to this complete ICAO Aviation English oral exam simulation. This video provides an authentic recreation of the assessment process that determines your ability to communicate effectively in international aviation operations. Whether you're preparing for your first ICAO test or looking to maintain your current rating, this simulation offers valuable insights into the examination format, question types, and expected response quality for Level 4 proficiency and above. The simulation covers all required elements: personal introduction and aviation background, listening comprehension with ATC communications, image description of an aviation scenario, interactive communication scenarios, discussion of complex aviation topics. Pay close attention to how the candidate structures responses, demonstrates technical vocabulary, and maintains fluency throughout the assessment. This simulation represents the standard expected for pilots seeking international career opportunities. Let's begin the examination.
Examiner Introduction. Examiner.
Good morning. Welcome to your ICAO Aviation English Proficiency Oral Exam. My name is Captain Sarah Williams, examiner number EX 2025-114, and I will be conducting your assessment today. This exam evaluates your English language skills in aviation communication contexts. It consists of 5 parts and takes approximately 30 minutes. Please listen carefully to each question and respond as clearly as possible. Do you have any questions before we begin?
Student. No questions, Captain Williams. I'm ready to proceed. Part 1, Introduction and Background. Examiner.
Let's start with the introduction. Could you please introduce yourself, including your name, occupation, and relevant aviation experience?
Student, good morning. My name is David Chen, license number CPL 2023-56789. I currently work as a first officer for Atlantic Airways, flying the Boeing 737-800. I have been a professional pilot for 3 years, with approximately 2,800 flight hours. Before joining Atlantic Airways, I worked as a flight instructor at Coastal Flight Academy, where I specialized in instrument training. I completed my initial flight training at International Aviation University. Examiner.
Thank you. What aspects of your current role do you find most challenging?
Student. The most challenging aspect of my role is managing operations during changing weather conditions, especially at airports with limited infrastructure. These situations require quick decision-making and clear communication with ATC. Last month, we were approaching an airport with rapidly developing fog. We had to constantly reassess our approach options while coordinating with ATC for possible holding patterns or diversions. These situations test not only flying skills but also communication abilities under pressure. Part 2, Listening and Comprehension. Examiner.
I'll now play an ATIS broadcast. Listen carefully.
This is Chicago O'Hare International Airport, Information Echo, time 1530 Zulu, wind 320 at 18 knots, gusting to 28 knots, visibility 6 kilometers in light rain, cloud broken at 1,200 feet, overcast at 3,000 feet, temperature 8 degrees Celsius, dew point 6 degrees Celsius, QNH 1,009 hectopascals, runway 27, right and 28 in use for arrivals, runway 32, left for departures, braking action good, construction in progress on taxiway Bravo, expect ILS approach, advise on initial contact, you have information echo. Examiner.
What are the current weather conditions at Chicago O'Hare?
Student. The current weather at Chicago O'Hare includes winds from 320 degrees at 18 knots, gusting to 28 knots. Visibility is 6 kilometers in light rain. There's a broken cloud layer at 1,200 feet and an overcast layer at 3,000 feet. The temperature is 8 degrees Celsius with a dew point of 6 degrees Celsius. The QNH is 1,009 hectopascals. Examiner.
What operational challenges might you anticipate with these conditions?
Student. These conditions present several challenges. The gusty crosswind will require careful handling during landing. The low ceiling at 1,200 feet means we'll be in instrument conditions until late in the approach. The close temperature dew point spread indicates high humidity, which could lead to visibility changes if the rain gets heavier. Also, the construction on taxiway Bravo might affect our taxi routing after landing, so we'll need to pay close attention to ground control instructions. Examiner
Atlantic 456, descend to 6,000 feet, turn right heading 090, reduce speed to 220 knots, and expect vectors for ILS approach runway 27 right. Please provide a readback of this instruction.
Student descending to 6,000 feet, turning right, heading 090, reducing speed to 220 knots, and expecting vectors for ILS approach runway 27 right, Atlantic 456. Part 3, describing an image. Examiner.
Please look at this image showing an aircraft with visible engine damage after a bird strike. Describe what you see and the operational implications.
Student. The image shows a Boeing 737 parked on the apron with significant damage to its right engine. The engine inlet is dented and the fan blades are clearly damaged from a bird strike. Maintenance personnel are inspecting the damage with ground equipment positioned around the aircraft. This situation means the aircraft can't fly until repairs are completed. The airline will need to find a replacement aircraft to maintain their schedule and rebook passengers. The damage will require detailed inspection and likely engine component replacement, which could take several days. For the airport, this highlights the importance of wildlife management, especially bird control around runways. They might need to review their wildlife hazard plan to prevent similar incidents in the future. Part 4, Interactive Communication. Examiner.
Listen to this ATC pilot communication.
ATC.
Atlantic 456. We have a developing weather situation. Thunderstorm activity building 30 miles ahead on your route. Recommend deviation 20 degrees right, of course for approximately 50 miles.
Pilot.
Atlantic 456, roger. Request 20 degrees right for weather deviation. Our weather radar shows significant returns. Any reports of turbulence in the area?
ATC.
Atlantic 456. Deviation approved. We've had reports of moderate to severe turbulence at flight level 310 and flight level 330. Suggest climb to flight level 350 or descent to flight level 290 to minimize turbulence.
Examiner.
Based on this communication, what information did the pilot receive about the weather situation, and what decisions would they need to make?
Student. The pilot received information about thunderstorms 30 miles ahead on their route, extending east to west for about 70 miles. ATC also reported moderate to severe turbulence at flight level 310 and flight level 330, suggesting either climbing to flight level 350 or descending to flight level 290 to avoid it. The pilot needs to decide whether to accept the suggested 20-degree right deviation, which they've already requested. They also need to choose between climbing to flight level 350 or descending to flight level 290 to avoid the turbulence. This decision would depend on factors like aircraft performance, fuel efficiency, and whether climbing would put them closer to the tops of the thunderstorms. They should also prepare the cabin for possible turbulence and keep monitoring their weather radar for any changes in the storm's position or intensity. Examiner.
You're experiencing a gradual loss of hydraulic pressure in System A. How would you communicate this to ATC, and what information would you include?
Student, I would say, Atlantic 456, we're experiencing a gradual loss of hydraulic pressure in System A. All flight controls are still working normally through backup systems. No immediate assistance needed, but will require priority handling for approach and landing. We may need extra runway length for rollout. No emergency services required at this time, but please place them on standby as a precaution. We'll keep you updated if anything changes. Part 5. Discussion of aviation topics. Examiner.
How do you think the increasing use of automation in cockpits affects pilot skills and training requirements?
Student automation in cockpits has both benefits and challenges for pilots. On the positive side, it reduces workload, improves precision, and adds safety layers by monitoring systems constantly. This allows pilots to focus more on managing the flight rather than manually controlling the aircraft all the time. However, there's a concern about skill degradation, especially in manual flying. When pilots mostly monitor systems instead of actively flying, their hand flying skills can get rusty. This becomes a problem during system failures when pilots need to take manual control. Training has changed to address this. Airlines now include more practice with automation failures in simulators, and many encourage manual flying during good weather conditions. I think future training needs to balance technical knowledge of automated systems with regular practice of basic flying skills. Pilots need to know when to use automation and when to take manual control, maintaining their role as active managers rather than passive monitors. Examiner.
What measures do you think are most effective for reducing runway incursions at busy airports?
Student reducing runway incursions requires a combination of technology, procedures, and awareness. Technology, like airport surface detection equipment, helps controllers see all aircraft and vehicles on the ground with automatic alerts for potential conflicts. Runway status lights that turn red when it's unsafe to enter a runway provide direct warnings to pilots. In the cockpit, moving maps on tablets help pilots maintain better awareness during taxi. Procedurally, the sterile cockpit rule during taxi keeps crews focused on movement and communications. Standard taxi routes and dedicated runway crossing points reduce complexity. The practice of having only one aircraft at a time on the tower frequency during busy periods ensures critical instructions aren't missed. Training is also important, with regular reviews of hotspots at airports and simulator practice for challenging taxi scenarios. I believe the most effective approach combines these elements with a strong safety culture that emphasizes the seriousness of runway incursions. Examiner conclusion. Examiner.
This concludes your ICAO Aviation English Proficiency oral exam. Thank you for your participation. We will now assess your performance according to ICAO language proficiency requirements across all 6 language skills: pronunciation, structure, vocabulary, fluency, comprehension, and interactions.